Hey, we're back. We're going to do reading now. Thanks for looking at Jacobit's Learning. This you have to look at, and when we say parallel structure, you're trying to look at things like moral goodness and see if there's something that is parallel with it, like actions which show moral goodness. And then you want to then you get into your other words like context. Sorry, I meant to do that in a different color. Let me do that. Let me tell you why I'm doing it in a different color. Because uh, the context of something kind of changes what's going to happen when you hit the SAT, because it means there's something else you have to consider. So the context in which these actions are carried out. So you have all these words going on and you have to put them together. Here's another word you have here also. You have actions. Okay, and we need to keep this as actions. I want to keep it the same color. Sorry about that. Without any further, ado, let's go on and read. Some ethicists hold that the moral goodness of an individual's actions depend solely on whether the actions themselves are good, irrespective of the context in which they are carried out. Philosopher, either that's one or I, Sebastian Purcell, has shown that the surviving works of Aztec Nahua philosophy express a very different view. Purcell reveals that these works posit an ethical system in which an individual's actions are judged in light of how well they accord with the individual's role in society and how well they contribute to the role in the community. To the extent that these words are representative of Aztec thought, Purcell's analysis suggests what? Before we even see the questions, let's quickly try to tie this together because we shouldn't take this long on one question. Individuals' actions. Now here you get an individual's actions are judged how well the individual's role is in society and in the community. Did you see this word again? Now here's the big problem with this kind of structure you're trying to keep parallel. And remember, parallel structure simply just means that if you find moral goodness here, you want to find something, and I'm going to shorten this to morals. You want to find something that equals morals. So that's how you keep something parallel. And those are supposed to be two lines. So morals actually coincides with actions. So they're parallel. Here's a big question when you're reading this, and when I first read this, whose actions are you talking about? You're talking about an individual, but whose role? Like, would a king have the same role as like the common person? No. So you don't want to think too much. You want to think about what's going on, what role. If you were in a different society, you'd have like knights. So is their role? Because knights are given a better chance. And same thing in Aztec culture, they had different levels. And if you were one of the king's soldiers, I forgot the term they used for it, but anyway, you would have a role you'd have to maintain. So Purcell is basically talking about the roles people have and their moral goodness. So when we go on to look for a question, we're looking at roles of people and their actions. So we have the question coming up. And let's move on and see what that is. So we want roles. I'm going to write it again. And actions. And you guys should be reading this ahead of me. And this is parallel. I'm going to do an and sign like this. You guys have time to do your and signs. Bad writer, maybe I'll write it out. Roles and actions. Okay, the Aztecs would have disputed the idea that morality of an individual's actions can be assessed by appealing to the standards of behavior that are independent of the individual's circumstances. Does this say roles and actions? Disputed? Here's where you're starting to get like a false parallel, and a false parallel means two things aren't here. You're going that they're disputing the idea that the morality of an individual's actions can be assessed by appealing to the standards of behavior. Here's the thing. This does say roles and actions, independent of their roles, because remember, in Aztec culture, it was up here, individual's role in the community, so they can't be independent. So this is a possibility. Now see, you have to do backward reasoning. You have to do backward reasoning, and you have to get yourself used to what's going on. This is like a hard question. Moderately hard, because it's twisting it around on you. And unless you took AP philosophy or something, or unless you're just an absolute natural born test taker, this can be very hard for you. So they didn't say they weren't independent. They said roles and actions were dependent on each other, people. This says disputed. Let's highlight this word. Think about it. Okay, the Aztecs would not have accepted the notion that the morality of an individual's actions can be fairly evaluated by people who don't live in the same society. You know, this is okay, except for we never got into this. We were talking about Aztec culture only. This is out. B's out. By the way, this was taken from an actual SAT, so they do things like this. Actions by members of the Aztec society. This is choice C. I'm starting here. Member who contributed a great deal to their community could be judged as morally good, even if those actions were inconsistent with the behaviors the Aztecs regarded as good in all contexts. What are we talking about? Actions by members of Aztec who contributed a great deal to the community could be judged as morally good, even if those actions were inconsistent with the behaviors. Roles, actions. Why would they use double talk here? Because they're trying to confuse you. This is exactly what you call the opposite of the author's intent. It's double speak. It's double talk. It's a false parallel. They're trying to confuse you. It's also false circular reasoning. They're telling you and adding something in here that's not in here. The Aztecs looked at the behaviors of the individual in regard to their role in the society as the individual. Who would say this and talk this? Some test taker who wants to confuse you. C's out. Okay, similar actions performed by people in different social roles in Aztec society would have been regarded as morally equivalent unless those actions led to different outcomes for the community. They're trying to confuse you. Different social roles would have been unless those actions led to different outcomes for the community. Please get rid of this and think about what this says. And under pressure, you're going to confuse yourself. Not all of you, but some of you, because anybody can do it. I teach this, and even sometimes I do it. Okay, different social roles. The role depends on how they are expected to contribute. That one word throws the whole sentence off. Otherwise, it would almost be repeating what it said up here. Role in the community. Individuals' role in society. So everybody's role is different. So why would they bring this up? Similar actions performed by people of different in the community. So guess what? Your answer is A, and you go ahead and you check that in the book. That's the answer you have, and you are done. If you have any questions, we're at jacobidslearning@gmail.com. Please try to go over this. Thanks for